Okay. Hi, I'm Sue Downey, Education Chair for the International Nanny Association. So glad that you decided to join us tonight. I'm here to introduce my very good friend, Alene Mathurin, um, who is going to talk to us about body positivity. Just before we start, I want to say thanks for joining us. And if you're watching this on the replay, thanks for taking the time to join us for these. All of the webinars that we do um, are on the YouTube channel or in your member portal if they're member only. So if you're not a member of INA, please take a minute to go and check out the YouTube channel for International Nanny Association. There are so many webinars that you can access for free. You don't even have to be a member. And they're amazing. It's amazing content. And if you like what we're doing, consider joining. We would love to have you be a part of the organization. The more voices we have, the more we can give benefits to the people who are in the organization, the more we know what you want. If there's a webinar or a topic that you feel strongly about that you really want to see us present, let me know. We try to do one or two, sometimes three webinars a month, as well as all the other things we do. So please feel welcome. And if you have any questions ever, you can talk to Alene, you can talk to me, or any of the board members from the INA. Just a couple housekeeping. This is recorded. If you have anything that's sensitive, just know that it's recorded. So this is a more sensitive topic. So you could always put in the chat if there's something you want to talk. We can always stop the camera at the end and address anything if there's something personal. Also, if you can keep yourself muted while Eileen's talking, the background noise is just sometimes difficult. And then if you want to talk, you can raise your hand or unmute and join in the conversation. Anything else, Aileen? That's it, right?
I think that's it. Such a beautiful introduction, Sue. Thank you.
Well, I am so thrilled that you're going to talk to us about this really important topic. So
Thank
take it
you.
away.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you, everybody. I look at the screen and I see very dear friends and people that we all love, and I'm so happy that you are reaching across the aisle, that you're here at the INE webinar. And like Sue said, take a minute at what the work that the INA has been doing and is doing. And I will tell you very candidly, I want you to join in. I hear your voice, we hear your voice, and you can come in and actually, make the changes that you want to see happen. So I want to start with that. For those of you that are going to be, again, looking at this, a replay of this webinar, welcome. I am Alene Mathurin. I run the My Nanny Circle Facebook group, and I'm also a board member at the International Nanny Association. So we have a topic, and our topic tonight is body positivity. It is a very sensitive topic. It is a hot button topic. It is a topic like you turn on the television and somebody is talking about body positivity. As a matter of fact, they're thinking that it is a movement. And we all have our opinions, and that's really important. And I want tonight to be as interactive as possible, my friends. I want to hear from you. I will start by sharing a PowerPoint that I did on this topic. So hopefully you can have a visual of this and we can have that conversation. And I am just about sharing my slide. Can you all see my slide? Can you, Sue, can you hear me and can you see the slide?
Yep, I can hear you. I can't see the slide. Let's see.
Okay. I will try that again, Sue, just a second. We'll try it one more time, sharing the screen. We just did that and it was like seamless. Share again.
Here we go.
There we go. More custom slide. You see this technology thingy. Of course, you can see my slide now. Awesome. So we're talking about body positivity. And while I'm saying that, what I want you to do is to just be nice to that girl. Just whisper to yourself, I'll be nice to this girl. I had to say that a few weeks ago. I will just be nice to this girl. I want you to be nice to yourself. So just consider this. So I will start with a didactic women's story. It's us. And remember, I told you, you can grab your wine, you can grab your water. It's after work. Let's just chill. We're a group of friends. And for those of you that's going to be, again, joining, looking at this video, it's a simple story. There are two women sitting at a pub one night and toasting to the start of the summer and the fact that one of the women had received a promotion at work. They were having a good time and laughed as they reminisced about events that had happened to them in the past. You see the boyfriend who literally ran away, the one who constantly colored his mustache and bald head really black, and so on and so on. You know what we do when we meet together as girls, as women. At the same time, a handsome, buff, and tall man who was sitting across the room from them asked the waiter to transfer their tab to his. As the waiter told the woman what the man did, one of the women looked at the other and said to her, I think he's interested in you. It could never be me with my fat self, she kept on saying aloud and laughing with an intensity, that type of laughter that comes after the fourth drink. So I'm going to stop here. And I want to engage you and ask you what you took from this story, the fact that two women are together. Any ideas, any thoughts on this? I see Renee, you want to say something?
Well, yes. I mean, she was in denial because of her fat self. Mm-hmm. And there you go. She is, because of her fat self, I want to say that she has a little bit of lack of self-esteem. And so she was not confident enough to say, well, in spite of my fat self, I think this guy is hitting on me. But she didn't do that. And she said to her friend, I think he's hitting on you. But so, lack of self-esteem because of our weight. We're not confident enough.
Okay.
That's my take.
That's a really good point. So let's see. Again, why did this woman think this man was not interested in her? Anybody else wants to share something? Do you think perhaps that society teaches us that one body type is superior to another? Anybody encountered that?
Because of her weight?
Because of her weight. Okay. And that's a really good one. And I could tell you personally, as many of you that know me, and for those that don't, I am sort of heavy set and I carry a lot of weight in the lower part of my body. And as a young girl, I heard things like thunder thighs and cavalina because of the size of my calves. And because of that, over the years, I developed a lot of body insecurity. So I think one reason why this woman felt like the man was not interested in her, because she was already conditioned to believe, that he would be interested in the friend perhaps that was smaller. Do you think that is a fair assessment, that we can posit this? Yeah? Okay. So how do you see yourself? And you don't really have to answer. And if you do, again, we want to make it as engaging as possible. Some of us think we are too small, too fat, too short, too tall, not accomplished enough, not interesting enough, not strong enough, not capable enough. Have you ever had situations where you thought that there was something about you that was lacking? And again, we can always put stuff if you're not comfortable in the chat as well. So here's the reason why this is very critical, because the way we see ourselves really in our heads to assign a value to us. So, for example, we will believe that perhaps we're too tall, or, like something is happening, and we begin to attach a value to ourselves. So we have to be very careful about how we see ourselves. It is very important, because that can even affect us on our jobs. Because if we don't think that we are valuable enough, perhaps we will settle for jobs that we believe that maybe matches us, because maybe that's the best that I can get, right? Is that a fair assessment? Yeah. So we have to ask ourselves, do we see ourselves as inadequate because of our weight, because of our physique? And even body positivity, when we think about it, a lot of people consider it in terms of just the physical makeup, but now we see that positivity in terms of skin tone. There's some people that think that they're too light or too dark. And how does that affect us as a people? In fact, how does that affect us? Is that something that we want to consider as well? Do you presently think that you're good enough? Good enough to land a good job where you are paid right, you are respected? Again, there is a correlation based on how we see ourselves and what we're going to accept from other people. Do we see that correlation? Are you constantly thinking about things that you wish you could change about yourself in terms of your appearance? I can tell you, I used to do that. I wish that I was taller. I wish that my legs were not always that big. And that was at one point in my life. I wish I looked like my cousins. Can anybody attest to that? Some of the wishful, silent thinking? Yes, okay. Do you feel inferior to your friends, your peers, and your colleagues? No? But you can see how, if you don't feel good about yourself, how you'll feel like you're not good enough, right? Okay, so I see people nodding, so you are in agreement. Judy, do you want to add something?
Yeah, sometimes I am mute.
Yes, you are. No, good.
Yeah. Sometimes you look at different people's shapes and the way they look, then you have that low self-esteem and you say, well, maybe this guy not looking at me. Maybe the other girl was maybe more attractive, So you will always say, well, it's that person, but little do you know, it's you the person want to interact with, So I guess self-esteem have a lot to do with it, the way we think about ourselves, because a few years ago, I was in a position where I would never think that I would be, say to somebody which is out of the box, at the beginning of our dating period, I was like, not me, don't hold my hands, don't close the door for me. But, when you get that kind of courteous way now, it took me a while for me to get used to that kind of living of life, So I guess, we learn.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And, what Julie is saying is so very important. We feel like, hey, I don't, somebody's holding the door for me, like where, somebody's actually holding, you mean for me? Yes, for you. And for those of you that's going to be watching that, yes, for you, you deserve it no matter what size that you're in. You deserve that. Are you trying to overcompensate to make up for areas where you believe that you are weak in? That is a big question. Are you trying to overcompensate? And when we talk about overcompensating, you find that people begin to say, oh, well, since I'm not skinny enough, I have this, so I'll use that. It's almost like they place so much emphasis on something else, a little bit of them instead of the entirety of the person. So it's important to look at yourself as a whole individual and be okay with that whole individual. And do you often find yourself confirming people's biases? That's a big one. We laugh with them when they laugh about us. I've seen people do that, and it's very sad to watch, you know, where people share something perhaps about a joke about maybe the size of your feet or the size of something. And because the only way to handle it is to join in the laughter, that is very, very demeaning. And you see that happening quite a bit. So one of the things that I want to tell you is that the constant ideas that we hold about ourselves hypnotize areas of our lives. So it's almost like it's at a standstill. We are in that like freeze mode, because if we're always thinking about perhaps I'll never get that job because I'm too big or I'm too small, because body positivity is not just people feeling like they're too big. There are people that feel like they're too small. You know, we see that new trend where very young people now want an extra big hip and big butt and big legs and tiny waist, almost like that model type look that they see, and they go for everything to make it happen. So it's not just people thinking that they're too big, but what it does to us is that it restricts certain areas in our lives. And let me show you where it restricts. Romantically, what are the effects of the constant negative and self-limiting mental chatter you have about yourself? In terms, like Julia was saying, in terms of your romantic life, you know, if you're insecure about yourself, that's going to rub off on your partner. Your partner is going to feel like this person is insecure. So how does that affect you? Are you creating invisible barriers? The E is, are you creating emotional invisible barriers as a means to protect yourself? Believe it or not, I've come across nannies that say, I don't go out because, you know, I just don't feel like I'm good enough. So on the weekends, I just stay in until Monday, and work is my only social life. That happens. The S is spiritually, are you practicing divine love by loving yourself first? That's a very important consideration. And physically, and the P, physically, even when you make a decision to change an aspect of your life, do you feel like you are not able to self-start? You need to consider that as well. It also affects us economically. Have you attached limitation to your potential? There are some people, for example, that will never apply for certain jobs because they believe that perhaps this family is never going to hire me. And it is the constant negative chatter that they tell themselves about the families, you know, that I'm not good enough. They will never hire me. Perhaps, you know, these are older kids, I'm too big, and so I'm not going to be able to do certain stuff. So economically, you are at a deficit because you don't want to go out there to you know, even get an interview. Now, creatively, are the doubts you are holding about yourself burying your creative spirit? And again, my friends, what I want to share with you is that correlation. If one area of your life where you feel perhaps that I'm not good enough, my body is not good enough, I'm too big or too small, you might be limiting other creative stuff about you. And are you practicing thankfulness? Like I had to tell myself, I had to say to myself, Lean, you know what? Because, you know, to be very candid with you, during COVID, I gained a ton of weight. It was like, the inside joke was that it was COVID-20. I gained a ton of weight. And I had to say to myself, you know what? I am happy that I'm in this body that carried me through a time of absolute sheer horror and uncertainty. So I had to practice thankfulness. Can any of you attest to that? No? So let's move on. Can you still see my screen, friends?
Yes.
Awesome. Sorry, sir. I just lost something here.
No, great.
And so what the words, the letters that I was spelling out actually spells respect. It is about having respect for yourself, realizing that you are deserving to be respected, not just by other people, but most importantly, to respect yourself, because that is the key. Because we teach people how to treat us. And if we constantly say things about ourselves that is not very positive, eventually the people around us are going to learn that type of chatter. It's almost like conditioned behavior. Because if you always say, me and my fat self, like the woman said in the beginning, eventually it's going to go out to the people around you. So it's a question of respecting yourself, no matter what size that you're in. That is very important. And the reason why I went back to questions, my friends, because it is important, because the mental chatter, the quiet times when you go to bed tonight, when nobody's there, there's no Zoom call, you know, you have turned off your Facebook. Are you consumed by what you believe is inadequate about yourself? Are you having those thoughts? I was always obsessing about a certain size. That's the truth. I wanted to be size 6. My goodness, I couldn't fit my frame in a size 6. So are we constantly obsessing about that?
Yeah. Alene, can I say something?
Sure.
I was always small, on the small side, petite. And I always like, I wish I could gain a few pounds. And come to menopause, I did gain a few pounds. And I was like, I had to learn to live with it because the clothes that I like couldn't fit me anymore. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't shop in the children section. So that is it. So it's like, be careful what you wish for.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's like having all these thoughts and that, like talking to people about it or find someone that you could talk to about it. Was like growing up in the Caribbean, there was so much abuse or domestic violence and stuff like that. And it takes a while to get rid of all those thoughts. You have to, you have to be resilient. You have to talk yourself out of it if you're afraid to talk to somebody else, because going through those stuff, you don't know who to trust. And if you say something, you might hear it 10 steps down the street and stuff like that. So, you train your thoughts. Like for me, I trained my thoughts, and everything I was told I couldn't do, I pushed myself to do it, whether I had support or I didn't have support. And sometimes I, well, with COVID and the lockdown and stuff like that, you still find yourself thing, but you build, you build your faith, your spirituality, and you learn to walk differently. Because, I had to find a job for myself without an agency, without, I had to negotiate for myself. And it was like, wow, I can do this. I can. So it gives you like, it makes you feel differently about yourself. Like I can take on any challenge now.
That is
But you
beautiful.
still, it's an everyday, work.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing this. This is so powerful. I suppose I'm hearing Rashida say, allow yourself that time, give yourself that time, because it's not an overnight thing. It takes time and it's a process. And when you get to that other side, you'll realize, how liberating it is, right, Rashida? You articulated that really well. And I think that it allows us to jump into this point of practicing mindfulness, which will truly ascertain where you are now, which is exactly what you said, and make plans for where.
Whoops, Alene, you muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. So this is key. the idea of practicing mindfulness. And I was about to tell you another didactic story, but I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to simply say to you is the overall theme of when people think that they are inadequate in skin color, inadequate, and I'll dare say in hair texture, inadequate in terms of your size, your height, too big, too small, I should have had, more hair, less there. The realization that no matter who you are, that you are simply wonderfully and beautifully made. I think that is one of the things that we need to constantly tell ourselves, how beautiful we are. And it might sound like, like old cliche, but the truth is, if we look at what's happening globally, if we look at the fact that we're coming from a pandemic, in fact, we're still in a pandemic. We're still in the pandemic, what's happening in India. If we are able to practice this mindfulness and say to to our bodies, thank you for taking me through this period. Thank you for allowing me to go to work, and being mindful of practicing this thankfulness. I think that is going to save us a lot of heartache. Now, I also want to tell you that when we talk about body positivity, we're certainly not advocating behaviors that are unhealthy. Because, for example, we work with children, and we want to make sure that we can continue to do that as long as possible. So taking good care of yourself, looking at taking good care of yourself, looking at your mental construct, what you think about. That's what we're talking about. Being okay with who you are, regardless of what, the media says. And I'll tell you another thing, there is alarming statistics that show that there's so much mental disorders as a result of people's ideas about themselves, and they're saying that it's coming from what we view every day. I mean, every day I turn on the television, or I'm reading an article, there's J-Lo, and J-Lo is perfect. And you think to yourself, and the short lines, the blurbs, she's 51. We have to realize how, when we, what that does to us. Nothing wrong with who J-Lo is, because this is what she wants to be. But what do you want to be? How do you want to feel? How do you want to look? That's a question that we all have to answer, and be okay with that. Because we'll turn on Instagram and we'll look at the influencers, and you're like, oh, my goodness, she's perfect. You are also perfect, is what I'm trying to posit. For Rashid, I'm glad that you brought about the flip side of this, where you were extremely small and all you wanted to do, Rashida, was to get big. So sometimes when we hear about the body positivity, we don't realize there's the other side, where people just want to gain more weight, perhaps to look curvier, like, some of their favorite reality stars. But the idea is that you're enough. The idea is that as much as you believe that, oh, I'm just thinking about that and wishing this, it plays into our mental health. I know it did for me. I walked, I was so uncomfortable with the size that I was in terms of the fact that I carried a lot of weight in the lower part of my body, that in 90-degree weather, I was always wearing, and I'm sure some of you that I've worked with saw that, I was always wearing a sweater tied around my waist. You know what I was saying? That the body that you're in should have been better. And while I was supposed to be enjoying myself and doing something, I was obsessing about that. Anybody wants to share anything? And you don't have to go personal. You can always say, oh, I know a friend.
Yeah, but if you're healthy, you know, that's how we have to, that's another way of looking at it. Okay, I'm skinny or I'm fat, but I'm healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like working with kids and you hear somebody will say, but he's so fat or she's so fat or she, I was like, no, don't come with that around the kids. It's like they're well-rounded.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they get a sickness come, they don't eat and they get so small. And then here's, but look how skinny they got. You know, it's like, you can't win.
And do you think that this is perpetuated? Do you think this has something to do also with culture? Is there a cultural element to this, the way we think about ourselves?
Yeah, culture has some part to play in it too. Because you know, like in the Caribbean, you eat and you walk. You have to eat a heavy food because you work hard. It's like more manual labor, and you think here it's like you eat and you just you hop from the train to the bus to the thing, and then you get fat and you was like, oh, well, you know, I eat too much, and it's hard to get rid of it and stuff. So I think culture has a lot to play with it.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, what I will also say with that, it's the same as, you know, people don't talk about it. There are people that are very uncomfortable with their skin tone. And we don't talk about it because it's a big elephant in the room. They're uncomfortable with that. They, you know, that whole idea of, I remember going to the Caribbean, for example, going back home after many years, and the first thing, that adjective that was used to describe me was the three-letter word. I hate the idea of people calling that word fat. I am who I am. There is more to me. You know, I am happy. And it's that whole idea of labeling. And if we all owned who we were and be comfortable with who we were and confident with who we are, then perhaps we will live more wholesome lives. That's what the story I really want to tell you. That it's not me trying to say, hey, I'm like this big old wise fish telling you that this is the right thing, but think about it. It is so self-limiting when we think about, you know, about all the things that we are lacking. Perhaps we can reverse that conversation and think about all our triumphs.
Mm-hmm.
Think about some of you that have been on jobs for 15 to 20 years. It is that body that took you around.
Amen.
You know, Julie, I think you have something to say.
Yeah, but sometimes it's not even the size, the weight, the look. It's your heart, your personality. You know, sometimes you get somebody who's really, really, like you say, fat, but you don't want to say fat or overweight, and that personality is a darling. And then you get the skinny person, and her attitude, I'll say, stinks. You know, so um I don't know, sometimes, it depends on the person, or whatever. But I guess it's the way some of us are brought up also, where we come from, how we learn. Because, I grew up in the Caribbean, and there's a lot of things I didn't know. But when I came to New York, I learned a lot of things and I changed a lot. Because if you met me in the Caribbean, you wouldn't speak to me. I was always serious. Nobody could come to me. But when I came here, I started working with different color people. I see how they behaving, how they talk, and how they move about, and I learned a lot from them too, but back in the Caribbean, I didn't learn a lot of stuff, but when I came here, I saw people doing things differently, and I started to adapt myself differently. So I
Good.
guess.
Good. And that's what we talked about in the beginning, the idea of our AQ, our adaptability quotient, that we cannot live in two places at one time. And Ju, you brought up something very, very interesting, that sometimes we have to put aside some of our cultural biases. even the words that we use to describe people, we have to suspend that. And you're saying that when we know better, perhaps we do better. And there are different jargons, different words we can use to describe stuff rather than doing it in a way that is, and sometimes it's in a way that is, the motive is not good. And so we have to practice a lot of mindfulness and adapt to our environment and the way that people do stuff. And so that is what I'm hearing from you. And I think is such a critical factor. Marlene, do you want to add anything? Because you're like this person that's so confident.
Hi, everybody. I'm just laughing because when what Julie was speaking is so true growing up in the Caribbean or Caribbean culture. But I personally am an extremely curious-minded person, and I love to explore different personality and different cultures. So if I meet you and you speak in a certain way, I'm very good at adapting, and I am very authentic, and how to say it? I just love being me. I just love being me. I cannot be you. I don't want to act like you. I want to be my true self. Like recently, somebody said to me, as you can see my hair, why don't you put a rinse in it? And I said, does it bother you? It don't bother me. This is who I am. I have gray hair. If even I hide it, who am I hiding my hair from? So I just love being me. If you don't like the way I'm looking, that's okay. That's your opinion. The fact is that I love who I am as a person. And I'm going to respect you for who you are as a person. If I see you and I will be like, oh my gosh, you're looking gorgeous. Like, you look absolutely gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And I'm being very honest about it. And you'll be like, really? I said, that's why I said that to you. And if one day you behave in a certain way, not of me, I'm the kind of person who will be like, you don't have to say it that way. That's who I am as a person. You may be offended, but I just love to be true to myself.
Awesome.
So that's just who I am as a person on the whole.
Awesome. And I think this is part of where I was ending this whole thing event. I was going to the idea of just, I love being me. I typed that in the chat. I think that's the takeaway, that I am not you. I love being me and I'm happy about it. And the idea that if you love being you, you should be also contented with the idea that somebody else loves being them, that Julia loves being Julia, and Rashida and Sue and Antonia and Helen and Onika and Michelle and Rosanna. And I love being me because we are unique. So, and we are also different. And so that is, I think, is such a good takeaway from this whole thing. And when you can just say that in a way that is authentic, like you said, Marlene, and true to yourself, it's almost like, liberation. Yes. Yes, I don't have to wear a sweater like this anymore. And did you just say that I had thunder thighs? Oh, I do. Mm-hmm. They're big.
I only accept yourself for who you are and respect. We have to learn to respect each other. Respect each other. If you want to wear a short skirt today, hey, go, darling. That's okay. So it's a matter of respect and loving each other. That's just who I am as a person.
I think it's a very good, this is definitely like that aha teachable moment, that respecting people. Absolutely. That is the key. And Sue, I see you nodding. Do you want to add something to this, Sue?
I was just thinking that, I think it's especially dangerous for women because either our past, like our families, our moms, or culture or TV, somebody's taught us that the only way, if you don't feel good about yourself, the only way to feel good about yourself is to make others feel less. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the biggest, most dangerous thing for women. And if there was anything that I could ever say to anyone. It's like, I can feel good about myself and not make someone else feel less. Like, it's okay to be confident in yourself, but also, you know, admit. And when, not Margaret, you have a different, and I can't remember your name already.
Marlene.
Marlene, you were saying that, I was thinking that's so true. Like, if you can just say, I am happy, I love being me, and give space for other people to feel that way about themselves without making other people feel less. It's such a big thing, and something I have to practice, I think, a lot of times.
And that is so very powerful, Sue. And I think that's the idea of mindfulness. If we practice that, I think our world will be a better place. And the thing that you said that for me that resonates is, what are we telling our women? You know, and we begin to teach our children. So for us, and for those of you that will be listening to this, you hear sort of a grandfathered systematic problem that from generation to generation, we are told that perhaps part of our value is in how we look. And that is so very, very dangerous. And as mothers, as teachers, as allo parents, and co-parents, we must do better. And so I'm excited that you guys are bringing this up, because this body positivity movement, it's happening because women are saying, I'm fed up of you telling me not to wear this. You know, yeah, I have some extra tummy showing. If I feel like wearing my crop top, let me wear it. That's what I'm wearing. There's some extra tummy here. I'm fed up of you telling me how to live my life and you living your life. I'm fed up of all those standards that the media has out there that tells me that I'm not accomplished enough if, you know, if I'm a certain size. And I think women need to say, we're fed up. And that's what a lot of people are saying, in fact. Any closing thoughts? Because I know we're almost out of time.
As I always say, there's room at the table for everyone, no competition. We're all unique in our own way.
Right.
So we have to be, and you know, society put it, you judge us before you even speak to us,
Right.
whether we're skinny or fat or what. It's what comes out from the inside.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome. Lucrecia.
I think we just say every day to ourselves, I love me. I love me. I love me. Every day look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love me.
Right.
God created me in his own image. I love myself.
That's right.
Awesome. Lucrecia, I think you wanted to add something. Thank you for that, Joe. You are on mute.
I think in my case, I need to practice all the time compassion, but I start with myself and with my body. Like you say, thankful to my body every morning, and especially in the pandemic, is thing to remember. Just to carry our essence to everywhere is enough. The heavy or big burden that we are in this pandemic carry is important to be compassion with ourselves no matter what.
Awesome. Thank you. That is very powerful. Practicing compassion starts with me. That's very powerful. Thank you. Anybody else? I'm seeing Michelle and beautiful Mo and Rosanna. Anything else that you want to share?
I just want to say to, is it Julia? When she spoke about how she was when she was in the Caribbean and coming here and learning. For you, Julia, you had a positive mindset, a growth mindset. And having a growth mindset is a very positive attribute one could have. And Marlene, I think Marlene, I was just listening to her, and I think I met her when we went to apple picking with you, Alene. And she was in. We happened to be in the same group, just walking, and we had so much fun, and she had such a loving and warm spirit. I should say all of us in that group, it's like we knew each other for years, and we just met on that day. So, and we stayed friends. We checked each other off and on and stuff like that. She's sweet, Malin.
Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you. And that is the love that, and they're not telling me to say that. When I tell you something, I'm telling you from a very authentic place. That is the love. That is the energy that we want to continue to take to the INA. And please, we are here, and it's just, 15 of us. It's very important that we invest time into that community, into that organization. There will be still exciting stuff that we can do, but I need you guys to come. And if you come, perhaps I can go back to the board and say that they want to do stuff, but it cannot be that we're just on the sideline. And being positive about, we're talking about body positivity. Let's talk about that positivity that we need to have as nannies, as professionals. It extends to taking ownership of things that belong to us, like the association. So I want to leave that with you, and to let you know that so many of you said that you're not coming because you wanted representation. Well, Luca is there, I'm there, and Sue is there, Sue from Nanny Palooza, and Helen. I mean, what else do you need? And so I'm sorry that I'm doing this, Sue, but I have to. I'm inviting you. So perhaps later in the year, we can do some apple picking INA style. We will do it. We are one community. The compassion that we were saying that we need to extend it from us to others. We need to give people a chance. We need to give each other a chance. And we need to come together as one big, strong community and do things and begin that, continue that conversation. So thank you for doing that, because it's just absolutely great that we can meet here. So tell 10 people at the park, and Jew and all of you here tonight. And please, let's not just be talkers, but really doers. But thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, Sue, for making this possible through the diversity committee. I thank the INA. I thank you, nannies. I want to recognize you beyond just nanny professionals. I want to recognize you as women, and if there are men that's going to be watching, and maybe men, and begin to say to you to take care of the whole man, beyond just the fact that you go to work every day and you care for kids, that you care for yourself. And no matter what size you are absolutely fabulous.
And no matter what color your skin is, you're absolutely fabulous.
If I can say one thing, maybe a few more of the nannies should join the INA, so that we can be a little stronger into the INA, because a lot of nannies are not in the INA. I'm one that's in the INA, so come out and let's join the INA and let's learn more to see what we can do. We can have like a upper hand also in the INA. I mean, not only think it's only one set of people that day doing the work.
What Alene said about taking ownership is so true. There's just very quickly, there's a TV show I love called The West Wing, and it's sort of like, if you love politics, like I love politics, it's like a fairy tale, because everything is always like perfect, and they're like, everything always works out the way you want it, not like how it is in life. But this one episode, they were talking about gun control, and the guy says, I don't know why you guys can't get gun control passed. All you have to do is, if you want gun control, everybody just join the NRA. If you control the NRA, all of the people that want gun control, you control the money. So what I'm saying to you is, if you feel like you're not represented at the INA, if you feel like you're not heard, if you're concerns are not being met, if you feel like we're not doing a good job, then join us and make us do a good job. You know, your voice, I'll hold the megaphone. I told Alene that 100 times. So I don't want to make this all about that, but you brought it up and I think it's so true. We would love to have you. So, and
Yeah.
thanks Alene for this beautiful talk tonight. This was very inspiring and a great way to end a long day for some of us.
Yeah. And thank you everybody for sharing this space with us. Again, for those of you that's going to be watching this on the replay, those of you that are members of the INA, on behalf of the board, we thank you for being members. We thank you for having a vested interest in the nanny community. For those of you that do not know about the INA, we invite you to come and understand what the work of the INA and make your voices heard. Be the change that you want to see. Join. And for those of you that think perhaps, hey, me with my Caribbean or African accent, I don't know anything about the INA. I am here, my sister, with just the same accent. And come. The only way we can truly impact change is being that change. So thank you, everybody. Good night, and I love you.
Love
Good
you
night,
guys.
everyone.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody.
Good
Bye.
night to all.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Alene.
Bye.
Bye.